Alright guys, so Drake is back from the so-called dead, and he dropped a respectable R&B project with Partynextdoor.
Who's out there for me? I need the stars or something lining up.
However, Drake is still Drake, and even though it's melodies for the most part, he did actually get to some rapping and he didn't hold back on a track titled Gimme a Hug. I actually really like this track. First off, for the cover art, we've got Drake and Party posted up at the Absolute World Towers in Mississauga, which is where Party is from. These towers are also referred to as the Marilyn Monroe due to their curvy looking design, so this was definitely a fitting cover for an R&B project. Now, there's been some controversy around this cover. Well, the cover art itself did raise some controversy from another Mississauga rapper named John River. The visuals in question are from his track Hope City 2, where the towers are clearly seen behind him throughout the entire video. This was a track that I caught on to like 8 years ago or 7 years ago.
My hoes is getting stronger, the home is getting honored, the homies know it's water. That's the shit I rap for.
At the time, I was saying, who is this kid? Like, this guy clearly got it. He's got it. He's up next for Canada.
Clock struck 12, said I blow by 3. So when they ask you about the river, say they know about me.
However, over the years, I would check back to see what happened to this kid, and things just got really quiet for him. I was dumbfounded to see how someone with this much talent, who also lived very close to Drake, seemed to fall by the wayside. Then I found out what actually happened. Coming off this Hope City 2 video, John had a really good buzz going. Canadian OG Cardinal Official brought John out on stage, and he announced that this kid was up next for Canada. In the city, this is a big cosign. This is a big cosign in Canada, really.
Just so that whenever them white folks talk, they gotta respect the rapper who bought the whole block car.
So everything was looking up for John. He even caught the eye of Jay-Z at Rock Nation and soon found himself in LA working with Rock Nation producers. But then tragedy struck John. John suffered from a CSF brain fluid leak where he lost 100% of his vision, use of his legs, and he essentially lost the ability to do everyday normal tasks. He was this close. He was really close to living out his dreams, and then everything stopped. For the first year, he was pretty much stuck in bed and he wasn't allowed to lift anything over 5 pounds. He then suffered a vocal cord injury, eardrum ruptures, he fell and had a really bad concussion, all kinds of health issues, and doctors told John it would take 7 years to recover. The reason why I'm even sharing this is because I started talking to John back in 2024. He's a really good dude, really good dude. I had made plans to do a piece on John back in December, and this is only 2% of his story, but I felt like now would be a really good time to at least introduce him. He is making music again. He is insanely talented. I'm going to leave his YouTube channel and his socials in the description. Now the question is, did Drake and Party steal this idea? Well, John recently took to IG, and in a series of posts, he explained his side of the story and how he felt about it. He allegedly does have a history with Partynextdoor. They are from the same city, and by all accounts, John was the first person to feature these towers in a hip-hop music video. In my opinion, whether consciously or subconsciously, I do believe that John did inspire this cover, at a minimum. Again, I'm going to link his profile below, so it's the first post on his IG profile. You can read it yourself. For production on the track, we got Kid Masterpiece, who has been tied to OVO for quite some time. We also got another friend of OVO with Gordo, and a few other guys in the mix here, Simon on the Moon, Clar, and of course Noel, who is OVO's sound engineer.
Someone go tell Noel to get it backwards.
And also good to see that 40 was the guy who mixed the track. I'm all for giving the producers props because not enough people do. Every breakdown I do, I always list them. The song is broken up into 3 different beats with 2 switches and 2 samples. The first sample with the gospel sounding choir is called Sing from the Terrell Show. For Drake's track, the words that we're hearing is "When we make a joyful song, I know where I belong with the Lord guiding me," and that simply loops throughout the first beat. The sample heard at the end of the track is "I Miss You" by Aaron Hall. Sampling, production, all amazing on this project.
Drake elimination, fake intimidation.
So Drake starts off here right out the gate referencing Kanye from an interview when he talked about the group effort to eliminate Drake.
You know, everybody was very, very excited about the elimination of Drake. Not excited, we was energized.
Now, Drake could also be alluding to his ongoing issues with UMG, as according to him, they conspired to eliminate him as well. I believe Drake sees UMG as the real enemy, like that's his biggest enemy. Drake claims that it's all just fake intimidation and he's basically unfazed by anything that has happened. This of course applies to Kendrick, as many have stated that this was just a moment in time and that his run will not be sustainable. Then there's the lawsuit itself, where it's alleged that Kendrick used bots and was getting a push from UMG, and even the Super Bowl itself is reportedly decided by a person who dislikes Drake, and that's Jay-Z. From Drake's perspective, he doesn't see this as legitimate. It's fake intimidation, like Kendrick had a lot of help.
Take a minute, take a deep breath, have a little bit of patience.
Drake appears to be taking a moment to meditate, grounding himself in the belief that this moment will pass, as he has strong faith that the truth will prevail, and once the dust settles, people will see all this for what it actually is. I agree, it's not gonna always be Drake hate, and Kendrick praise. Like it's gonna self-adjust. I think it already has a little bit.
Drizzy, you amazing, you the inspiration, you set the bar for the next generation.
Drake is quoting what many people have said over the years, and especially during his So Far Gone era, as he truly set the bar for the next generation of rappers. This was even something that Kendrick himself acknowledged.
Once he went out there and did them numbers on all original music and still called it a mixtape, and went gold, if I'm not mistaken. What that did was grab attention from all independent artists and letting us know, yo, you have to compete on another level now.
The minute Drake dropped So Far Gone, you know what I mean? The game instantly changed. And
look, whether you agree with Drake's influence on music, like whether you like it, like what he's done, it's still undeniable his impact.
You Neo in the Matrix, these niggas just Nemo in the ocean. Small fish making kids feel emotion.
Drake compares himself to Neo from the Matrix, which is a layered line because according to his lawsuit, he was up against much bigger forces than just Kendrick. I always gotta stress that Drake is actually really good at these types of references. Neo was just a regular guy living as a regular person within the Matrix, which is a fake world created by machines to control humans. When Neo discovers the truth and is deemed as being the one, he escapes and fights to free humanity, and he ultimately sacrifices himself to allow humans a chance to escape as well. There's definitely some parallels with respect to the lawsuit. If Drake is Neo, then the music industry is the Matrix, because this is where all the manufactured streams, bots, and illusions take place to make up that entire facade. Just like Neo, Drake was once a regular guy who signed a record deal, and he lived inside the system, ignorant to the fact that everything was fabricated. When Drake first came in, he was just happy to have a deal. He didn't know anything about the music business, really. Just like most of the people living in the Matrix, artists signed to these labels are not in control and are often completely unaware of what's even taking place. I would say 98% of the artists signed by these labels don't have the sweetest clue as to how the machine is really working. However, in the movie, there are some people who live in this fake world and they know damn well that everything is all fake, but they prefer to stay in it because it's comfortable. The artists that know about how all this works, like the 1%, those are the artists who are benefiting from this shit the most. They're the last people that'll ever expose it. In the case of Drake, if anyone knows how this machine really works, it's probably him, so calling himself the one actually kind of makes sense. Much like Neo, with this lawsuit, Drake is sacrificing himself, which will potentially help current and future artists. Now, to be fair, we don't have a clue what Drake's been really going through with UMG over the years. We have no idea. Of course, Drake's setup from the previous two lines also perfectly ties into this third line where he claims to be Neo. They're more or less telling Drake, like, you are the one, bro. Like, you You changed a whole generation. You're amazing. Drake also claims that his competition are small fish like Nemo in the ocean, the clownfish from the Disney movie. In the movie, when Nemo is in the ocean, his every move is controlled by his father Marlin. Drake is claiming that these guys are all small fish as they are living their lives in a controlled setting, one that he has decided to break free from.
Using you for promotion, true words have never been spoken.
This line actually has quite a bit of depth, as most of the artists that turned on Drake were once people he helped. An artist like Kendrick could have used Drake for promotion in the beginning of his career for features and of course the Club Paradise tour. However, by Kendrick now dissing Drake, one could argue that he used them for promotion again, but in a different way. This applies to most of the people who went at Drake, as he gave them all a boost at one point or another. Future and Metro's album gained a ton of traction off the strength of dissing Drake, and then I think of people like DJ Khaled, who literally structures his entire rollout by claiming that he has a Drake feature.
Did the Drake vocals come in yet? Aside, did the Drake vocals come in yet?
And I felt like Khaled was a perfect example of Drake really seeing things for what they are.
This guy's got 2 Drake songs on there, okay, 2.
Khaled promoted a recent project claiming that he had 2 features from Drake, and Drake clowned him and said it must be Drake Bell. It seems pretty clear that Khaled probably did not keep up with Drake, even through this past year, which was a tough time for him, and Khaled revealed his hand. I'm sure over the years Drake has wondered, I wonder how many of these dudes are really fucking using me.
Niggas wanna see Rip Me on a t-shirt like I'm Hulk Hogan.
Drake refers to Hulk Hogan's infamous t-shirt ripping stunt while alluding to the fact that people want him dead and on a shirt. Coincidentally enough, after the beef with Kendrick, there were some Rest in Peace Drake shirts going around. There's also the fact that even though Hulk Hogan is the most iconic wrestler of all time, he's also arguably the most hated.
I appreciate the fans rocking with me. This is really just a small token. Really fucking with a visionary.
So Drake is thanking his fans for sticking by his side and riding out the storm. He's given back this music as a token of his appreciation. It's here where he's positioning this album itself as just something that he's doing to feed the audience to scratch the itch, as the best is yet to come. He then refers to himself as a visionary, which really ties into the fact that this album is a smaller chunk of a larger plan. Just like most of his career, Drake appears to have a vision in mind of where he ultimately sees this thing going. I mean, for as long as he's been at the top of the game, and he's pretty much a billionaire, it's probably hard to find the inspiration. I think all this shit happening to Drake, it gave him hunger. I think he's about to give us some good music.
Only reason I ain't got a girl and I ain't getting married, cause I'm really out here filling up the itinerary till I'm 6 feet in a cemetery.
One of the things that Drake gets a lot of criticism for is the fact that he's not married yet. He hasn't settled down, even though he's approaching the age of 40. It's really in this line where Drake is showing his commitment to being the biggest artist in the world. He's willing to sacrifice the life that society deems as the norm in order to hyper-focus on his goals, and by all accounts, Drake continues to rack up accolade after accolade with this lifestyle.
I made a decision last night that I would die for it.
A major argument could be made that it's because Drake doesn't live a quote-unquote normal, ordinary life that he's able to maintain results that are anything but ordinary. It's his life, it's his choice. It's not like he can't get a girl. Like, he's pretty much got the pick of the litter.
Bulletproof doors so heavy, got me rolling around like a dignitary.
A dignitary is someone of high status, like a president who often commutes in a bulletproof vehicle. Drake introduced his Australian tour wearing a bulletproof vest, which I broke down the meaning behind in a separate video. It's a lot deeper than it looks.
Funny how it's only bitch niggas that are waiting on a boy's obituary. Cause if I die, it's these niggas that become the sole beneficiary.
It's here where Drake is claiming that the people who want him out of the paint are all people who could benefit greatly from him being dead. This of course applies to his competition in terms of hip-hop, but it could also be somehow tied to Drake's contracts with UMG. We don't really know what Drake's contracts really look like. with UMG.
And what the fuck are they gonna do with it? Had the girls up at 29 on stage twerking with a dictionary.
This line is actually pretty funny because Drake is claiming that if he were gone and Kendrick took his place, that the party would basically die. Kendrick's fans are known to dissect every word to the 100th degree, and Drake is saying that the dancers will be forced to be on stage at the strip club with dictionaries in their hands. This line actually has a lot of truth to it because while introspective, thought-provoking music like Kendrick's is needed, it will never replace the general consumer's demand for entertaining music. That's why both styles can coexist. Not everyone wants to live inside of a puzzle, and from the very beginning, hip-hop was actually all about who could rock the party the best and who could get people out on the floor dancing. Hip-hop was born at the party, literally. Now, some people might not like where it's evolved to, but party culture is very much a part of hip-hop. Like the social activism and the commentary, that came much later. Like the party MC has always been there.
Dirk's boy told me Marvin's Room was his favorite song, he was drilling to it.
Drake hits a double entendre. He talks about how his R&B smash Marvin's Room was one of Lil Durk's friend's favorite tracks. He claims that Durk's friend was drilling to it, which is a popular subgenre of rap in Chicago known for its violence. However, the word drilling is also used in the context of having sex, like saying, I was hitting that, I was pounding that. Basically, Durk's friend was fucking to the music. There's also the fact that the late King Von, who was a really good friend of Durk's, once tweeted out Drake's lyrics from Shot For Me, which was another one of his big R&B records. This was something noted by the Twitter user Aubrey's Attorney.
First I made you who you are, and then I made it.
Drake does this to demonstrate that his music connects with people from all walks of life. It resonates with everyone from suburban white kids to kids who grew up in the most unfortunate of circumstances, like kids who grew up in Chicago's O Block.
1,000 niggas rapping murder shit and like 10 niggas that'll really do it.
So, coming off his last line where he references Durk, as we know, he was allegedly 100% about that life, as right now he has an ongoing case. Drake is basically saying that out of all the people who are talking shit on wax, most of them are nothing like this in real life.
Savage, you the only nigga checking on me when we really in some shit, brother.
It's here where Drake is letting the world know that 21 Savage is actually loyal. This perfectly ties into the previous line about how a lot of rappers talk shit but aren't really about that life. That's why I don't think this line is about rap beef or anything to do with hip-hop. I think he's saying 21 is the only one that will actually check in when he's really, really in some shit. I think he's saying that 21 is the only real dude out of that whole circle. Like, he's the only one who's really gonna hit up Drake no matter like what's going on.
Melissa Ford, you a legend from the 6. Hate to see you with a dick sucker.
So Melissa Ford is a former video vixen icon from Toronto, and she also speaks pretty favorably about Drake as she is a cast member on the Joe Budden podcast. However, Joe and Drake do not have the best relationship. It's been pretty off and on, and lately it's been all bad, and it's here where he calls Joe a dick sucker. Joe is still an MC at heart, right? When he hears a record like this, his MC brain is turning on, and he's thinking about what to write. He's thinking about going in the booth. Like, Joe had more beefs than any other rapper, and Drake would admit himself. Drake knows damn well that Joe could be lethal. However, this Aaron Hall sample is interesting for a couple reasons, as both Aaron Hall and Joe Budden are connected to another video vixen, which is Gloria Velez. Now, allegedly, Aaron Hall started dating Gloria when she wasn't of age. In the case of Joe, Gloria is actually 2 years older than him, and at the time, people were impressed that Joe was even able to get her. In a 2005 interview, Gloria also went on to state that Joe was physically abusive to her, even going as far to compare him directly to her baby father, Aaron Hall. Of course, this is all alleged, and this could also be a reach, right? Like, it really could be.
Tell Mike that the ceiling's too low and booby, how we supposed to throw 100?
So this is another strip club reference where he's referencing Booby Trap in Miami, which is a strip club that Drake has mentioned before. Mike is the director of security for this club, and Drake is more or less saying that the building ceilings are too low. Drake is throwing so much money at this club that it's stacking up on the floor until it gets to the point where it's at the ceiling and there's no room left to throw any more hundreds.
Fuck a red beef, I'm trying to get the party lit.
So Kendrick made claims that it's time to watch the party die on a more recent untitled track where he criticizes materialism, excessive partying, violence in hip-hop, and he promotes things like education, religion, etc. While these messages are absolutely needed and very powerful, Drake knows that people still want to be entertained. Kendrick's discography isn't exactly the definition of turn on some Kendrick to get the party bumping, and the consumer still has a demand for these records. Believe it or not, even after the beef with Kendrick, nightclubs and strip clubs and dancing and partying and having fun all still exist. All of this music has a place, and Drake is really playing the villain, as countless media personalities and YouTubers have criticized Drake for this exact same music. Some of these guys have even went as far to say that Kendrick has created such a shift in hip-hop that Drake's music will be phased out and won't even be popular anymore. It blows my mind at the volume of people who really believe this. Like, it's the most smallest in-the-box way of looking at this. It's not based on any sense of reality. However, saying that Drake isn't introspective at all is completely false. This entire R&B project is literally him expressing his feelings. Drake's entire career has been about women, his wins, his losses, his family issues, his pitfalls. He's been very consistent in sharing what goes on in his life. Drake doesn't get political, but you can't say he's not introspective. He's more vulnerable than 99% of other rappers, like literally.
Niggas is hating the boy for sure, the women in love.
So again, Drake is playing into the hate. A lot of his enemies stem from women, and he's just throwing the fact that the women love him right back in these guys' faces.
Princess Gigi, pool, pink, luxury, I gotta come to the stage.
This dude Drake is really living his raps, because I talked to the team over at Area 29. These are real people. These are the stage names of the dancers. I believe hip-hop as a whole got sucked into the moment around his beef and into this fairy tale Twitter YouTuber narrative where it was totally lost on people just how much people support Drake. I could personally already see a readjustment taking place in terms of how people view Drake and view Kendrick after the beef. Things are absolutely restoring back to a degree of normalcy, and I feel like this is something that fans of both artists really want. In 2025, I truly challenge people to start thinking for yourselves, because plenty of the loudest voices on the internet are often playing into a narrative that yields the best profitability.
Guess who back? Mac, bitch, I move blocks and pounds. I move out on small blocks in town.